Happy Sunday morning, boys and girls. It's your old pal, Andy France, the Grand Poobah of Judson Sunday School. Welcome back to another episode of Virtual Judson Sunday School. Well, as you can see, I have with me today our old rainbow peace flag. This comes from our Pride lesson last June on Gay Pride Sunday. Let me ask you to look at this closely and tell me, what colors do you see other than that white peace symbol? What colors do you see in this flag? I think I see, let's see here, we got some yellow fading into green, we've got some blue, we've got purple and red, sort of pinkish colors in places. I think that's about all right. Red, blue, pink, green, yellow, and orange, maybe a little, I think that's about it. One color that you won't see in this flag, nor will you see it in an actual rainbow, and that is the color black. And yet, according to the first of two stories we're going to read today, black is a rainbow color. Let's begin today's lesson, our final lesson in our virtual Judson Sunday School African American History Month, by reading Black is a Rainbow Color, written by Angela Joy and illustrated by Akua Holmes. Red is a rainbow color. Green sits next to blue. Yellow, orange, violet, indigo. They are rainbow colors too, but my color is black. And there's no black in rainbows. Black is a crayon tangled in a box. Black is a feather on white winter snow. Black is the dirt where sunflowers grow. My color is black. I think we have another winner when it comes to illustrations. So beautifully colored book here. Black are the braids in my best friend's hair. Black are the bottoms of summertime feet. Black are soft circles that spin down the street. My color is black. Black is a rhythm. Black is the blues. Black is sidewalking in spit-shine shoes. I don't know if you can see this illustration, but they are walking on headlines of the civil rights movement. And this picture reminds me of the Montgomery bus boycott, when the African American community of Montgomery, Alabama, chose to walk rather than endure those segregated buses. And they walked for over a year before they finally won. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "We came to see that in the long run, it is more honorable to walk in dignity than ride in humiliation." Black is the robe on Thurgood's back. Black are the trains on railroad tracks. Black are the eyes on salted peas. Black are the shadows of old magnolia trees. There's your magnolia trees up there, so beautiful. This is Thurgood Marshall. He has a justice robe on. Thurgood Marshall was the first African American selected for the Supreme Court. Before he became a justice of the Supreme Court, he was a lawyer arguing cases in front of the Supreme Court. The most important case he argued was Brown versus Board of Education, which was the case that overturned segregation in public schools. One thing else I'll point out before we go on, you see the trains here? Trains remind us of that great migration of African Americans taking trains north to northern cities like Detroit and Chicago and New York in search of a better life. It also reminds us symbolically of the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman, one of the conductors of that Underground Railroad, where African American slaves were trying to get free by journeying north. If you missed the news in the past week or so, our Treasury Department, the U.S. Treasury Department, the folks in charge of all our money, have made a statement that they are indeed going to put Harriet Tubman's face on the $20 bill. No word just when that's going to happen, but it is in the works, so good for that. Black is molasses from tall sugar cane. Black is soft singing, hush now, don't explain. Great singers, Billie Holiday and Nina Simone. Black is the skillet for bread to fry. Black are dreams and raisins left out in the sun to die. Do you remember Langston Hughes, the poet we talked about in our first book, The Undefeated? In a poem he wrote called Harlem, he compared a dream deferred, a dream that has to be put off or canceled. In Langston Hughes's case, he was talking about because of segregation or racism, economic poverty. He said he compared that to leaving a raisin out in the sun, how it shrivels up and dies. He said, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Black is the color of ink staining page. Black is the mask that shelters his rage. Black are the birds in cages that sing. Black is a color. Black is a culture. A culture can mean many things, but in this instance, it means a way of life. Black is history. Black is family. Black is memory. Black is community. Black is the love that lives inside of me. My color is black. Black are the stones bearing witness to prayer. Black is the faith in a freedom not seen. We have pictured here stained glass windows of a church, like the stained glass windows we have here at Judson. Pictured here are Mamie Till Mobley, Ella Baker, Marion Wright Edelman, and Fannie Lou Hamer. These four women were known as the godmothers of the civil rights movement, and we're reminded that the church was the cornerstone of the civil rights movement. Black was the man who gave the world his dream. Black is a color. Black is a culture. Black is the heart of a candle and flame. Black is the power of movement in pain. Oh, look at that tree. Isn't that gorgeous? Black are the branches that carry my name, weaving, wrapping, lifting, laughing, hoping, grasping, quiet, strong. Our color is black. So you see, there is no black in rainbows, no black in green or blue, but in my box of crayons, black is a rainbow too. Black is a rainbow color. So there was a line in the story about Ella Fitzgerald that we read last week. It said, determination was her teacher. Determination? That's a weird name for a teacher. Excuse me, Miss Determination? Miss Determination? I need to go to the bathroom. Determination, that's our word of the day. Boing. Wow, it's another one of those big words that can barely fit on the marker board. What does the word determination mean? Well, determination is a firmness of purpose, a resoluteness, unwavering, having the focus you need to get something done. A person who is determined might be said to have grit, or if you like Westerns, true grit, or gumption, or they might be said to have guts and a stiff upper lip. We've already talked about how you children of the pandemic, children of the pandemic. We've talked about how you have come to understand that life can be unfair at times. And I think I said a few weeks ago that on occasion, life will knock you down. It will put you on your behind. The question is, what do we do when we've been knocked down on our behinds? How do we respond? Well, one way of responding is by showing determination, having the willpower, the inner strength to continue to try even in the face of adversity, trouble, difficulty. Determination involves having a goal and then not letting anything or anyone distract you or deter you from achieving that goal, not letting anyone keep you from achieving your goal. We saw determination in a homeless Ella Fitzgerald tap dancing for spare change on street corners in Harlem in the middle of the Great Depression, and not letting a pretty good case of stage fright keep her from becoming a star. We saw determination in a battered and bruised John Lewis, who refused to concede, give up the fight, no matter how many times he was knocked down, always getting back up and going off in search of more good trouble. We saw determination in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who gave his life for a dream that his children might not feel the sting of racism like he felt at a very early age when his best friend, who was white, told him they couldn't play together anymore because Martin was black. We hear determination in those old freedom anthems of the civil rights movement. Take the song, "We Shall Overcome." Do you know that song? Sing it with me if you do. We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We hear determination in the title, "We shall overcome," not, we might overcome, if it's not raining outside, because, nobody likes to march in the rain. Ooh, nobody likes to march in the rain. Nobody likes to march in the rain. No, come rain, brutal hot Alabama sun, state troopers, heads being hit with billy clubs, they kept marching. They kept singing. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down to freedom land. Do you hear determination in that title? Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Sing that with me. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down to freedom land. Determination. It's the backbone of a movement. It's the pride of a people who will not take no for an answer. Determination, even in you and me, no matter the color of our skin, is as important today as it was in the days of the civil rights movement. Because, as we saw as recently as last month with the storming of the United States Capitol, the forces of evil, those white supremacist groups going by whatever new names they choose to call themselves, they are still here, and they are as determined as ever. So kids, our second story is about someone who was the living embodiment of the word determination. Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was an African, not an African American, but his story is something we should be familiar with. Nelson Mandela grew up in apartheid South Africa. Apartheid was not a place like a city or a town, but it was a governmental system of segregation, of discrimination, apartheid, keeping people apart from one another. There are a lot of African words in today's story, names of people, names of places, and ethnic tribes, but there are two words that I want to bring to your attention in particular. One, when someone would talk to the crowd in a rally, when Nelson would do that, he might call out Amandla, which means power. And the crowd might respond in kind, Nawethu, which means to us or to the people. Amandla, Nawethu, power to us, to the people. Let's read Nelson Mandela as written and illustrated by Kadir Nelson. If Kadir Nelson's name sounds familiar to you, it's because he did the illustrations for the first book in our African American studies this past month, The Undefeated. And we start off with Nelson's African name, which is spelled with an R, but actually pronounced like this. Holy Shlashla. Holy Shlashla played barefooted on the grassy hills of Kunu. He fought boys with sticks and shot birds with slingshots. The smartest Madiba child of 13, he was the only one chosen for school. His new teacher would not say his Hosa name. She called him Nelson instead. Nelson was 9 when his father joined the ancestors in the sky. To continue his schooling, Nelson was sent miles away to live with a powerful chief. Brace yourself, my boy. His mother held her tears and said goodbye. The chief held counsel to warriors, medicine men, farmers, and laborers. The elder ones told stories of old Africa. For centuries, Thembu, Pondo, Hosa, and Zulu peoples lived in the mountains and valleys of South Africa. The land was bountiful, fertile, and rich. The people hunted, fished, and raised crops, living in relative peace. But they made war on European settlers who came in search of land and treasure. The settlers' weapons were stronger and breathed fire. Slowly the people were conquered. Their land was taken and spirits dimmed. South Africa belonged to Europe. The elders grew quiet, and Nelson felt sorry. Nelson grew into a young man and attended fine schools in the golden city of Johannesburg, where Africans were poor and powerless. Nelson became a lawyer and defended those who could not defend themselves. The government grew harsh and created a cruel policy. It split the people in 3, African, Indian, and European. It was called apartheid. The people were set apart. European-only beaches, European-only parks, European-only theaters, and the people protested. European-only means white. And by the way, for the kids in my class, Sebastian, Charlotte, Sathia, Theo, do you remember the name of an Indian who was one of these 3 people separated, these 3 groups separated by apartheid in South Africa? Does the name Gandhi ring a bell by any chance? Remember, he got his start as a young lawyer in South Africa. Nelson organized rallies to fight apartheid. We must win back Africa, he told them. South Africa is for all South Africans. Amandla, he shouted. Nawethu, they responded. Power to the people. And the people loved him. Speaking out was against the law, and Nelson was arrested and jailed for a fortnight with 100 men. A fortnight is 2 weeks. They danced and sang, calling the ancestors to join the fight for freedom. Amantla Nawethu. The ancestors sent their daughter Winnie to stand next to Nelson. They found love and married and welcomed children into the world. Together they stood and fought apartheid. The state vowed to put Nelson in jail, and he went underground. To go underground means to go into hiding and to work secretly. He wore different disguises and lived in the shadows. Empty flats, farmhouses, and bedrooms of friends became Nelson's home, while he organized more rallies and protests. The police put out a warrant for his arrest, but they could not find him. Ooh, look at that picture. Nelson slipped across the border to visit free nations where black Liberians, Ethiopians, and Moroccans freely conversed with white Europeans and brown Egyptians. They shook hands, a glimpse of freedom for life at home. Nelson returned to South Africa to cleanse his homeland of hate and discrimination. What are these things? See the pyramids. Oh, never mind. With a vision for peace and harmony, Nelson felt renewed and ready to fight for freedom. But on a drive to town, he was captured, arrested, and taken to jail. The people cried, "Free Mandela! Free Mandela!" Wet paint and posters covered South African walls. Oops, sorry. Yep. On a small island off the coast of the southern tip of Africa, Nelson sat in a tiny cell. Every day, the world passed him by. Cold meals, thin blankets, hard labor. Nelson hammered rocks into dust and read, studied, and educated fellow prisoners. Days turned into weeks, months, and years. His children grew up. Relatives passed away. South Africa began to fall apart. There were more protests, more rallies, and violence. The people needed a leader. Nelson snuck a message to the people: "I will return." As years passed, the world pressed South Africa to change. The new president agreed, and European-only signs came down. Beaches, parks, and theaters opened. Nelson's comrades were set free. Apartheid was no more. Nelson was an old man. After 27.5 years, 27.5 years, the prison gates opened, and Nelson was at last set free. Thousands surrounded him, and Winnie hugged him. Nelson looked into the sky and smiled at the ancestors. "Amantla, thank you." The sun sparkled in his gray and white hair. Nelson stood proudly with the wind at his back and spoke to a colorful sea of people. We must forget our terrible past and build a better future for South Africa. Let us continue to fight for justice and walk the last mile to freedom. Millions were given the vote and elected Nelson Mandela their new leader. South Africa was free at last and finally at peace. The ancestors, the people, the world celebrated. Amantla Nawethu. From 27 years in prison to the first black president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Well, boys and girls, I don't mind saying this is the hardest part of the lesson every week. The pages just have a mind of their own. I can pronounce African names like Holy Shlashla, but I can't find page 6 when I've turned page 5. So we'll see how things go today. Let's get out our sheet music for a little trip to heaven. It's singing time. We're going to go through the whole thing, and we'll see if we can handle the big fancy ending a little bit better than last week. We'll take it kind of slow, okay, and see how we do. From the beginning. 1, 2, ready, sing. Little trip to heaven on the wings of your love. Banana moon is shining in the sky. I feel like I'm in heaven, turn the page, when you're with me. I know that I'm in heaven when you smile. Though we're stuck here on the ground, turn the page, I got something that I found, and it's you. Ready for verse 2? I don't have to take no trip to outer space. Turn the page. All I have to do is look at your face, and before I know it, I'm in orbit around you. Page 5. Thanking my lucky stars that I found you. When I see your constellation, honey, you're my inspiration, and it's you. Turn to page 6. So far, so good. Verse 3. You're my North Star when I'm lost and feeling blue. The sun is breaking through the clouds, don't you know it's true? Turn to page 7. Honey, all the other stars seem dim around you. Thanking my lucky stars that I found you. When I see your smiling face, honey, I know nothing's. Turn to page 8. Gonna take your place, and it's you. And it's you, and it's you, and it's you, and it's you, and it's you. Here comes the big finish on page 9. And it's you, and it's you. You ready to try your hand at scat singing? Shoo-be-doo-ba-ba-da. What do you know? We made it through. Well, holy shlashla, boys and girls, we've somehow managed to get through another episode of Virtual Judson Sunday School. As always, I want to thank Andre and Michelle for their help putting this episode together. I want to thank you for being with me today as well. Next week will be our first ever, oh, please, Lord, let it be the only one ever, Virtual Valentine's Day episode. So I hope you'll join me then. Until then, have a great week. Stay safe. Keep a place for this place, Judson, in your heart. And I'll see you next time on Virtual Judson Sunday School.